So give me a sense of, how and when you started, looking at the border and working on it and how things looked then.
Well, actually, I was doing reporting with Epoch Times 2 years ago, and in 2021, already Epoch Times knew that this was going to be a huge issue when other media weren't even looking at it. So I went to the border to do reporting, and that's when I started working with the director for this movie, who is Charlotte Cuthbertson. She's been stationed on the border for 2 years now. I don't really know many reporters that have that kind of access to this issue. But what I saw just in that first couple of weeks that I was there was really shocking. And I thought that I knew something about the border, and I guess I did to an extent. I'd been following the issue. But when you're there and you see, for example, I saw cartel members just feet away from us, bringing in more than 200 people in the space of, say, 4 hours, one night, in one bend in the Rio Grande River, which is a big part of our open border. But just behind me, a few feet on the other side, is border authorities, and they can do nothing to deter this human smuggling happening right in front of our eyes. All they're doing is processing these people. So what I saw 2 years ago has only expanded exponentially, where we've got the numbers now of, say, about 7 million people that have given themselves up, that have been apprehended at the border, but 1.7 million gotaways. But that number is really extremely conservative because it's not an exact science. The way gotaways are calculated is by photographs that border authorities have put up cameras where they look at photographs and they see how many people came through in these different parts of the border. They're not catching those necessarily. They're just counting them. They're counting footprints in the sand, but after a rainstorm, those footprints wash away. So that number is much higher than 1.7 million. But that's the most conservative figure that we have.
Can you give me a sense of the, I guess the error bars on that figure in your mind? Like how large a number do people think it could be based on, the measurements that have been made?
Everyone is afraid to give a number. We haven't come across anyone who's willing to give an actual number of the gotaways because it is likely to be very staggering. And it just raises the question of, well, what's happened to these people? In our movie, we take you riding along with sheriffs and deputy sheriffs and ranchers on different properties, and we focused on Kinney County, which is a county in southern Texas that shares 16 miles of border with Mexico. And in just that one, it's like the tipping point, just the tip of the iceberg, what we show you, but you can imagine that expanded all the way along the border. And what we see there is just our local law enforcement in these small towns, and that's not even... So it's just extended far beyond border patrol. These are small towns, school districts. The schools are having to go into lockdown a few times a week sometimes because the high-speed car chases, chasing gotaways, chasing human smugglers on the US side of the border have become so frequent that our law enforcement agents are very scared because the accidents are terrible when you're traveling at 120 miles per hour in a chase against racing to catch human smugglers. And this is happening frequently. And that's what we show you in the movie. We take you to ride along in these action scenes that are real. So it's these gotaways. It goes far beyond just Border Patrol and National Guard. This is happening right on the front lines of all the border cities. And it's reaching through to so many cities across the country now, with migrants being bussed all around the country, illegal migrants being bussed around the country. But the front line there is Kinney County and all these other counties along the border, the open border.
So I want to talk about both those things. I mean, first of all, this phenomenon of, these sort of dramatic increases of numbers of people in the sanctuary cities, it seems like it's had a kind of a profound impact in affecting this change? I mean, this is just my feeling, because there's been all sorts of attempts to stem that, the kind of this illegal border crossing. It's gone in either direction. But do you think it might have been the fact that Democratic governors, for example, Kathy Hochul or others, are actually saying there's a problem is what turned the tide? Or how do you view this?
I think so, really, because the sanctuary cities had opened their arms and said, we welcome immigrants. Now they're having to do a double take, and they're realizing the cost. Our taxpayer dollars are paying. We have to remember who is footing the bill for this. $9.8 million a day. Think about that. That's just New York City alone, $9.8 million a day. And that is to house illegal immigrants, people who haven't come through the same way that many others have. I'm a legal immigrant, let's put it that way. I've been in this great country for 12 years now, but I had to go through the process and follow all the steps, the legal procedures of coming into the country. So for these people are not following those procedures, and it's like you've opened your back door, your rear window, and left a sign at the end of your driveway that says, come on in, we've got free bed and free food. Who is going to pay for that? That fridge is going to become empty very quickly, and people will expect it to be replenished. And that's exactly what's happening in these sanctuary cities. And finally, that's actually got to help turn the tides, where the current administration is finally, looks like they're trying to take some level of responsibility for the problem that they've caused with the current policies.
How are the current policies causing the problem, in your view?
Well, it was really in 2019, before becoming president, Joe Biden said that he would encourage people to surge to the border in terms of immigration.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
And that's what we've seen as soon as he became president. There was a number of change in the policies from previous administrations. Now, there's always been border issues, so it's not to say there haven't been any in the past. But the number of apprehensions and the staggering numbers that we're seeing of illegal immigration now started under the current administration. But it's because there haven't been any deterrence. And the Rio Grande River is completely open. People can walk through, they can swim across, they can take rafts across. There are so many open points in the border. We've interviewed so many illegal immigrants coming into the country for this reporting, and they've told us we came because we felt we would be that we would get in under the current American political administration. So really, that's what these migrants are telling us firsthand, and also what we're seeing.
Don't forget to subscribe to our Alerts newsletter, and you'll never miss an episode.